here's the thing, for all those kids that want to go on and play at the next level, and we had several that did, one of the things that we always got feedback on from collegiate coaches were how
Sitting here with Coach Brad Johnson, former Farmington 4A state championship.
yeah.
Coach, I'll let you tell everyone who Brad Johnson is, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the former head coach at Farmington High School, Farmington Girls, and just kind of a hoop junkie. I'm a basketball guy at my core. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a guy transitioning to the collegiate level, and just a guy that loves basketball, loves relationships, loves everything about the game and what it brings to community and to people, and all that.
Nice. So we're obviously here at the U of A. You want to segue and tell us about your new position and new role here?
Yeah, so about 6 weeks ago, I took a position here at the University of Arkansas with Coach Kelsey Musick, and had the opportunity to join her staff. I've known Coach for I guess going on 6 years now, and I've always been a huge fan of the way she builds culture, just the relationships, the impact that she makes on the lives of young women, and really on the greater community around her. I've kind of had a front row seat to that. My daughter played for her collegiately at Southwestern Oklahoma State out in Weatherford, Oklahoma, and so I just had a healthy respect for who she is as a person. Obviously, as a coach, she's tremendously successful, but she's just got this knack for making other people around her better, and helping grow programs and grow people. So when I had that opportunity to join forces with her, and obviously it's the University of Arkansas.
Sure.
There's nothing like being a Razorback, and it's kind of a lifelong dream. So to have that opportunity, I made that jump, and here I am, 6 weeks in, and working and loving every second of it.
So how amazing is it to be able to come to work and put Arkansas basketball on your chest every day, man? It's got to be amazing.
It is. I'd say sometimes it's hard for me to wipe the smile off my face. I just don't think you can have a bad day. I think about how blessed I've been as a high school coach. The Farmington job I had was unbelievable. That community is so embedded with me and my family, and so much of who I am as a person was that, and I loved every second of it. And so in a way, I lived out a dream, there. And then to be able now to have another dream, in this lifetime, I would have never thought that I would have that opportunity to be here. So it's super special. It's special for me as just a young guy growing up in the state of Arkansas. Everything is Razorbacks. And,
That's right.
So to have the opportunity to be here to represent our state and this university, and just be a part of this basketball program is special. And every single day is awesome. It really is. It's awesome.
Yeah, when I seen the headlines, and I was like, man, how amazing is that to be able to have your dream job twice?
Yeah, it's you just I don't know. It's hard for me to process it all. I just know I'm thankful for the opportunity, and we're gonna roll up our sleeves and go to work here the way that everybody on this staff has always done it everywhere else they've ever been. And again, I'm just thankful to be a part of it. Humbled, gracious. Insert the word.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a blessing, and it's one of those things that I don't take for granted, and I'm thankful for it. And I'm gonna do my best every single day to represent this school and this staff, and work for Coach and build relationships to make our university and state proud.
For sure. Well, we're definitely happy for you.
Thank
we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
We may need to get some season tickets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go Hogs.
For sure. So back to Farmington. Let's talk about it. Three-peat masterpiece, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know how many times that has been done, but I'm definitely going to look into it. But I could probably only count it on one hand, maybe. So back to back. What does winning 3 straight state titles mean to you personally and to the Farmington community?
For me personally, I think obviously there's a sense of accomplishment there, but really it's a joy for the kids. For every kid that really come through that program, it's funny because as we were going through that ride, I tried to enjoy the process along the way, but as a coach, you stay locked in for so much. But but the well wishes, the calls I got from former players who felt like they were on that ride with them, that they had invested in that program becoming what it was. So it was special for me to know that they felt that, and then for every kid on the roster, just to know how much they put into it, not just physically, but the mental side of it, the emotional investment. They were so invested in that community, and there was such a responsibility that every one of those kids carried every day to carry on a legacy, but to go and really just kind of put on for their community. And so to see them accomplish that and be a part of that ride, that part was unbelievably special. And I don't know that I can ever do justice to it as far as explaining it. And for the community, it's just, Farmington is just a special community. It really is. And everybody's bought in. And I know, it's in Northwest Arkansas. It's a growing community, but there's still, even with the growth, there's that small town. Everybody identifies with the Cardinals. Everybody identifies with the school. They know these kids. They're probably interconnected with families and things like that. And, everybody was just on the ride together. And so to be able to kind of give that to our community, man, it just meant everything. Everything.
That's good. That's good. So culture over everything.
Yeah.
What are the foundational values and culture you've instilled that continue to separate Farmington from the pack?
So, I've always kind of told people that I don't know that our way is the right way. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do things. And as in our program with our kids, we would say this consistently with them. It's not that we're doing different things. We just try to do it differently. And how we built that was we had a saying, and I stole this from PJ Fleck, the football coach at Minnesota, the family moniker, and it was "Forget about me, I love you." And so what that basically meant for us was "Forget about me, I love you." So it took the whole being a great teammate and the we over me philosophy kind of to a different level. It's not just that we're going to go out and be a collective unit. We're going to really invest in each other as people. We're going to have a genuine love for our teammates. There's a level of respect. Now, it doesn't mean that everything's going to go well every day, but we're going to respect each other that enough that we're going to be able to hold each other accountable. We're going to push each other in a positive way. I'm going to look at you as a person and not just a player. And we're going to have genuine emotional investment in the people around us, our coaches, our players, our managers, everybody. So we're all invested. So the family piece was something that we pushed all the time. We wore it on things. We talked about it. And I'm a big believer, you don't just throw a slogan out. It's got to be really part of your DNA and your fabric. And so it's got to be talked about. It's got to be modeled. It's got to be important. And we're going to make it important every single day. And so that was kind of where it started. The other thing that I think was super important to that culture is we became very what we called standard driven. If you ever looked on any of our social media stuff, we would put out there, the standard is the standard. And what that meant to us is it wasn't bad to set goals. I think you do have to have goals in life, obviously. But for us to go in and try to set a goal of we want to win a conference championship or we want to win a state championship, or we never did that. We never walked in at the beginning of the year and set any type of goal, because to me, that was putting a finish line. And if you're really about growth and about journey and about getting the best out of yourself, there is no finish line. And so we became about standards. What is our standard, our habits of how we're going to practice every day? What is our standard in how we're going to act on the court, off the court? What's our standard of what a great teammate needs to look like? What's our standard in the way that we're going to prepare every day for each opponent? And so we had a set of standards. Our kids helped develop that, and they changed from year to year a little bit. Now, we had a couple that went from year to year, but so then it became very personalized with each team each year. And so we were standard driven. The other thing that I think that was really important, kind of going back with our family and it tied in, is everybody has a role. Doesn't matter if you're the kid that plays the most minutes, or if you were our manager, or you're a kid that maybe was on our JV team. You have a role, and you need to be invested. And whatever your role is, you come in and you be great at it every single day. and we're going to check our ego at the door, because I don't think that you can work and function as a collective unit, even as a coaching staff. You check that ego at the door and understand that we're all part of a bigger mission. And so that's really how we built it. And we tried to stay true to those things year after year after year. And because, talent levels are going to change. There's going to be adversity and things that's going to happen from year to year. And what are the things that are going to help you get through that stuff? And I'm a big believer it's all about the relationships and the culture you build. And that's what's going to drive that engine. And that's just what we try to do.
Amazing. Amazing. So, on the culture aspect, when you say checking your egos at the door, with obviously this being, sports and,
Yep.
Sometimes, the ego drives a player to be competitive.
Right.
Not in the aspect of being competitive far as personal, gains and goals, but far as the team. So when you say check the ego at the door, just elaborate more on that behalf.
Well, so I'm always a believer in that you're going to travel farther and you're going to accomplish more collectively. As a program gets better and grows, you're going to have really talented kids, and they're all going to bring something to the table. We had lots of really good kids, and they could step on the floor on any given night. One of them could get 25, right? Mm-hmm. But in order for us to be as successful as we wanted to be as a group and to win at the level that we wanted to win, we had to all be able to function. And night to night, your role may have to change, right? And so, and you know how it is. It's just like in real life in a job situation. You're going to be asked maybe to do things that may be outside of your comfort zone, or maybe, it may be a job that some people look as a meaningless task, but you can still go do it and be great at it. Mm-hmm. And so, and I told them that as players collectively, like there's going to be nights where you may be asked to score 25 and you're going to get the bulk of the shots. Mm-hmm. There may be a night where we're going to have to sit you down and go, look.
Based on matchup.
Based on matchup.
What you face.
Right. What we're seeing. Tonight we're going to need you to be a setup kid. You're going to have to guard the other team's best player. I'm going to need you to be, a dog rebounder on the glass. But that's going to help us win tonight. Mm-hmm. And so, and winning matters, and if winning and being successful and the good of the group is the ultimate goal, it's going to require sacrifice. And we always ask them, what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you never had? What are you willing to sacrifice to set a legacy that people will remember forever? Because that stuff don't happen for free. And so watching that buy-in and just talking through, and I think you have to be real with players. You have to throw that out there. And I've told them this. It's not human nature to be unselfish. Mm-hmm. We're all wired that way, to be a little bit selfish. And the greatest ones have the ability to go be great, but be able to sacrifice for the good of everybody else. And we talked about that. We had culture meetings and things like that we put that out there so they could see it and understand it, and it could be tangible for them.
And that's what I was getting at. I'm sure that it had to be an emphasis put on how we accomplish those things to get the buy-in for the culture over the me aspect of things.
Absolutely.
To do it over and over again.
Yeah.
I know it's a plus that you get to keep the same group.
Yes.
But so when the younger players come in, then they have a bigger sister to look at and say, this is how we do things here. Right.
Well, and that's the thing too, going back to the standards. When that culture is set and that standard was set by all the players that came before them, then that next group that comes in, that's what they've seen. And they understood the success level that the teams that had before them, and so then it just becomes part of the DNA, the very fabric of who these kids are. I think there's value in that. You can go be great and still be selfless. And look, here's the thing, for all those kids that want to go on and play at the next level, and we had several that did, one of the things that we always got feedback on from collegiate coaches were how good these kids were in the locker room, that they could go in and immediately you could plug them in a locker room, and those programs got better because they understood that concept of, the collective is the most important thing. You can still go be great, but you can do it as a collective. And that, as a coach, that was always special to get that feedback.
That's right. That's good. Farmington 5 legacy. Let's talk about the senior class, what makes that group so special, and how will their legacy live on after graduation?
I think they'll be talked about forever in that community. You know, we've had there was little girls that are in elementary that all they know is those kids. You know, and then you have adults and retirees that followed us. And look, it's one of the greatest collection of winners I've ever been around. You know, you talk about numbers with that senior class. They graduated with a varsity record of 105-3. They won 92 consecutive games against in-state competition and never lost to a high school in the state of Arkansas. Their 3 losses were to out-of-state teams. And all 3 of those teams that we lost to from out of state won their state championships in that respective year in that state. And so they're willing. Oh, it's just, you know, it's a little bit unreal, to be honest with you. And you know, the thing about them that I thought was so neat is they carried themselves with a level of confidence, but it was never arrogance. And again, they played collectively together. They celebrated the successes of one another, unlike anything that I've really ever seen. And then the competitive side is they loved the challenge and the chase. They wanted to play. We would go out of state if we knew a team was really good, you know, from out of state, and there was a spot open in the tournament. We would go. You know, hey, let's go out there and play with them and just see where we are. You know, they loved that challenge, and it wasn't just even in season. It was even really in how we did our summer stuff. Most of them played out on a circuit, but when we would go to our team camps, we chased the best teams in a 4 to 5 state region, you know, and our kids began to kind of keep up with it. They knew who the good ones were. And so that was fun and refreshing as a coach too, to see great ones want that challenge. Their legacy is just going to be, I think it's going to be forever. It's etched in stone, and they're going to go down as just, I think, really one of the greatest set of winners, obviously in the history of Farmington, but honestly, I think they have to be considered that way at our state level in the history of Arkansas as well.
Now, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you all play 4A and then move up to 5A?
Yeah.
Now, what year was last year?
Last year was
5A?
Yeah, when we moved up to 5A.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get those confused because the change in the last year.
Yeah.
But did the same thing.
Yes.
Was it more challenging? Obviously, from statistic-wise, it didn't look like it on paper, but...
No, I think it was. There was a lot of different challenges. You know, I think 5A basketball and girls was really, really good. When we started our run in 4A girls basketball was really good. You know, there was a lot of really good teams that kind of, you know, 2020 was the COVID year that everything got shut down. We were scheduled to play Star City in the state championship game. But we went, you know, there were 6 years in a row that we were in the state finals, and 4A was really good. You know, Coach Becky Yarborough was on that run at Star City. They were good. Izzy Higginbottom was still in 4A at Batesville at the time, and that group was really good. Paul Dean's Nashville group, you know, was really good. PA had a run. Harrison had a really good run of really good teams, and you know, there were several others that were out there. So 4A was good, and I thought, and our league at the time in Northwest Arkansas was a good league. And then we jumped to 5A, and it was great basketball. Valonia, Greene County Tech, Mountain Home, Greenwood. You know, there was just so many really good teams, and it was a different set of challenges. There was some unfamiliarity. You know, we had, as a coaching staff, it pushed us to change our scouts and things like that, and preparation. So there were some challenges to it, but at the end of the day, I thought our kids approached it very workmanlike, you know, and they just went out and tried to get the job done.
Big moments, bigger composure. Your teams have consistently shown poise in the biggest games. How do you prepare them mentally, or how did you prepare them mentally for pressure in championship basketball?
So, you know, I think there's 2 things to that. One, I think you have to simulate advantage, disadvantage stuff in practice all the time and make it uber competitive. So that was part of the process, so that when you were in those type of moments, it felt like old hand a little bit, like we've been there, done that. The other thing is we try to instill in them that you control the things that you can control in the moment. And that allows you sometimes maybe to not let the moment get too big. I think you have to kind of retrain your brain to look at pressure situations as a privilege. You're here because you belong, because you've earned that opportunity. So I think if you look at it like that, that changes it a little bit. And so you just kind of play off of that. The other thing that we always try to instill confidence with our kids is the play is the play, the shot is the shot. You don't have to be perfect. You're going to miss shots. There's going to be turnovers in the course of the game. How quickly can we would call it? Well, you'd see me doing this sometimes on the sideline, and we called that the windshield mentality. So we're always looking forward. So if we miss a shot, we have a big moment, some other team goes on a run, you windshield it. In other words, how quickly can you move on to the next play, right? Because it's the teams that have this ability to respond to adversity quicker. How fast can you adjust? That's going to allow you to be able to play well in big moments. And so, we just reiterated that, and then the way that we practice, try to put them in adverse situations, really challenge them. And over time, there's a lot of maturity that happens as kids get older and they begin those big moments. And so you can't discount that either,
for sure.
Just the level of maturity and experience.
For sure. Behind the curtains, take us inside a typical practice during championship week. What's the energy, the focus, and the message?
Stay true to who you are. That was always the thing. You can go back and look at our practice plans. We would put that on there. From the day that we started practice, our goal was to be 1% better the next day. And that's cliche coach speak, but it was something that we would talk about. Like, what can you improve today? And we wanted that same improvement even in championship week. We tried to make our practices at a championship level from August when we first started to, if we were fortunate enough to be playing in March, they would still be that level. I didn't want it to be a deal where, we're just kind of winging and getting into it. I wanted those practices to look really, really sharp. I wanted our focus to be sharp. I wanted our competition to be intense. And I wanted that at an early time so that when we got to March, it's not something that we're changing up. They're not going to look at me and go, Coach is doing something different. This is a different time of year. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing, because what we've been doing has been good enough. We don't have to change things. And so,
be better at it.
Just be better at it. And now at times we would drop maybe the minutes, so we would adjust minute load. But I would always ask them. We'd start the practice, and I'd say, okay, we're dropping the time today, so what does that mean to you? And every one of them with a single voice they would say, less time, more intensity. Less time, more intensity. Yeah, and so that would be the only adjustment. We didn't change things. Our Mondays would look the same, our Tuesdays would look the same, and we just kind of rolled with that because I didn't want them to feel that all of a sudden coach is changing things. This is different. No, this is still the game of basketball. We're still who we are. We're still going to prepare for the opponent the same way. We're still going to practice the same way. And so then it's a habit and it's a routine.
Right. It's not a curveball.
Nope.
It doesn't change the mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Adversity fuel. Every title run presents its own challenges.
Yep.
What adversity did this year's team face, and how did they use it as motivation?
So I think when you look back on it, there's three things for me that stood out, and if you want to call them adverse situations. One, I knew that we had a target on our back.
The biggest.
It was big, and it was twofold. One, we'd had we'd gone back to back and we'd had a run, and so you're going to get everybody's best shot. We knew that. The other thing was moving up to a new classification, a proud classification with really talented teams. And so, they were not going to just let us move up in classification. You feel like sometimes that when you do that, somebody's going to try to make an example out of you.
Right.
So there's two types of adversity right there. The other thing is we got out in Tennessee and we went to a national tournament out there, and we took our only loss of the season, to the Webb School out in Tennessee, who won their state championship, and they were very good. We had a lead in that game. We led at halftime, and they came back and they tied it, and it went back and forth, and they hit the shot at the end, and beat us. And I was curious how we were going to respond to that, because we had not lost a game in close to a year, and so it's on the road, and we certainly hadn't given up a lead. The game we had lost the year earlier, we'd played from behind. And so,
entire game.
yeah, and so, this team in general, especially that senior class, had kind of this habit of being closers, and so we'd never lost a game like that. And we had a quick turnaround. We had a 24-hour turnaround to where we had to play another really, really Upperman High out of Tennessee, who has a tremendous legacy of their own. They're coached by a Hall of Fame coach, and they win, and they're gritty, and they're tough. And we had literally, we played a really late game. It was a late game that we had, and we get beat, and it was emotionally draining. We were exhausted. I thought maybe our confidence might have been a little bit shook, and then we had to turn around and play another really good team, and it was an early tournament. It was same tournament, and it was an early game slot, right? And so
you get to do it early, and get that out of the mind.
Yes, but I was worried as a coach, and I'll be honest with you, we started out that game, and we got behind right out the gate. They kind of punched us in our mouth, and I thought that we were still kind of hung over maybe from that loss. But from that adversity, you saw toughness, you saw fight, you saw, in the timeouts, at the halftime, these kids really kind of rally around like, look, this isn't us. We're not going to let this happen again. And then we stormed back and we tie that game, and we made every big play down the stretch and win that game, won the next, and then got on a run from there. So there was that one. I thought also in the state tournament, just to be honest with you, in the semifinal game against Valonia, they had a tremendous game plan, with the way that they guarded Easton McCullough. They went with kind of a junk look with us, and they zoned in some spots and manned in other spots, and
try to jumper in some
spots. They just did different things, some different things, and they had a really good plan for it. We had a plan going in because we'd felt like that's what they were going to do, but we had to go. We went to plan B, and that wasn't working very well. And at halftime, we had to make it another adjustment, and to watch our kids process that, move from next to next to next, and then again we came from behind, and I think our ability to do that probably came from that experience out in Tennessee. So we had those moments of adversity like that, and I was just so proud of how our kids responded.
Absolutely.
In every facet, they just seemed to kind of come back, and they took it very mature. They were very process oriented through the whole thing. They never got too emotional one way or the other, and they just did what I thought, what championship level teams do, and to see them perform like that was awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, with the time, and you play that night, then turn around and play that morning, so. Yeah. They didn't have time to just harbor on the loss,
Nope.
You could either focus on one or two things. You can focus on this loss, or we can focus on tomorrow morning.
Yes, and so we get on our bus after that loss, and again, it was late. It was after 11 p.m. The game had got pushed back late. We get on a bus, and when we arrived back at the hotel, the bus ride back, nobody said a word. There was no talking. There was no
silence.
It was silence, and they were. And then we get back in the hotel, and our kids put together a film session on their own. Not me. I didn't say anything to them about it. They did it. And so they did a late night film session together, and I found this out the next morning.
You didn't even know?
No. They called it. We went to our rooms, they broke it down, and they had, hey, come to this room, we're going to break this film down. And so they broke the film down from the night before, that game we just played.
Yeah.
They did it on their own.
And they did that the night when they got back.
As soon as they got back to the hotel.
So who took the leadership role in orchestrating that?
Well, it started with, our top 6 or 7 kids, and obviously a lot of those kids were seniors. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of got that thing together. Hey, let's get this thing in. Let's break this film down. Let's go over, what we should have done, what we could have done better, how we could have handled these moments. And when you hear that as a coach too, there's a level of
top tier.
It's different. It's different, and I think that's what made them great. And that speaks again to, it would have been easy for them to having no ego, right, and having a team first mentality. It'd been real easy for them to go, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, or
Or just not say anything.
Yeah, or not say anything. I'm just going to be in myself and deal with this moment. And they didn't do that. And that was a sign of maturity. And I just think that helped us through anything else that remotely looked like adversity for the rest of the year. It was that moment that we were able to lean on.
If it's a problem, let's find a solution.
Yes.
Together.
Absolutely.
It's nice. Nice. The Coach's Corner, looking back, what has coaching at Farmington taught you about leadership, patience, and growth?
I'm who I am today because of that community, of those kids. I think that the one thing that I learned probably the most, and I maybe I already knew it, but it was just displayed to me every day, was the importance of being relationship driven. I tell everybody all the time, I walked in that door at Farmington, I followed a legend. Brad Blue's a legend, and he is beloved in that community. And it would have been real easy for that town when I got there. And Coach got to name his successor. He hired me. Mm-hmm. But it would have been real easy for them to look at me and say, well, we've had Coach Blue for 25 years. He's not Coach Blue. And I wasn't. I couldn't be, But I walked in the door, and the community just enveloped me and my family with this support and this love and this acceptance. They let me be who I was as a coach and as a person. They just let me be my authentic self. They let me coach their kids. To see that type of investment, and look, that trickled down into their kids. Those kids, for as invested as I was in that community and wanting to coach those kids, they were more invested in me as a person. And so over 16 years, just seeing the importance of it has to be about relationships. Everything has to be about being relationship driven. It is 10,000 times bigger than basketball. Sure. That's a part of it.
For sure.
But
that's just the fun part.
That's the fun part. But it's bigger than that. And so, rallying around one another in times of tragedy and emergency and even celebration, just that whole part of it. So for me, I think my leadership style maybe matured. And I began, with every year, I began to appreciate more and more the journey that we were on and enjoying that journey with each team. Even if we had the same roster back, right. That season
still was unique.
It was going to be unique in its own right. And so taking the moment to really enjoy that journey and not just coach the game, but really invest in the people around me, and from coaching staff to managers to players to our janitors to everybody, and I think I got a front row seat to seeing the importance of that, and that was pushed into me from that community, and I'll never be able to thank that community enough for who they are and how much I grew while I was there.
And that actually goes into the next question on community ties. Farmington fans obviously ride for their girls.
Oh,
we know this.
Yes, they do.
What role has the community, or did the community, play in this dynasty, and how you felt their support over the years?
Well, there's this unique investment in it. They're tied to it. So anything that we needed in the community, a lot of times we could just, if we needed an extra set of practice gear, usually there was a helping hand. If we didn't have it in our budget, they would find it. Our administration was all in trying to help us, and you've got to have a quality administration, from your athletic directors on up to your on-site school administrators to the district level. They're all just invested in who we are and invested in these kids and trying to give us every opportunity and avenue to help them build success. The families trusting us as coaches, believing in what we were doing. We had a thing we called vertical alignment, where we were going to try to run a similar system from the top down, right? We're going to teach similar skill sets from the top down. Mm-hmm. And we began to kind of push that stuff even into our Pee Wee ranks. And so to have Pee Wee volunteer coaches who thought enough of what we were doing, and they were invested enough in those kids, number one, to coach them, to drill them, to teach a love of the game of basketball, but to do the things that we asked for them to do, to try to start putting the basic foundational parts of our system, our culture, and our standards in an early age. That's not normal, right? And so that takes a different type of investment and focus, but they all felt a part of it. And so, you know, we would always tell our kids, this program is way bigger than one person, way bigger than a coach, a single player. It's community driven. And that's, you know, that's who Farmington is as a community. And so we don't have the success if we didn't have that backing and that support and that belief system in place. And again, you know, I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but I know what it was like there. And that community drove the success of that program, and we'll continue to do that.
Small town, but big support.
Big support, big support.
Coaching Tree Roots, who was your coaching influences growing up, and how have they shaped your philosophy on and off the court?
I think I've tried to take a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I think all the way back when you start talking about coaches that I think shaped me, I go back to, you know, me as a little like 4th and 5th grader, and Reverend Casper Pinckney, and guys like Chuck Kellybrew and Pete Kelly and Craig Couch. Those are all guys that a lot of people may not know, but to me they mean everything, because those are
with Google and all of that.
Yeah, you can see them, but those were guys that taught me to have fun and love the game. You know, when I was just a little guy. And so, you know, it started with that, and that was my exposure to basketball, and because I had fun and I loved it, and those guys really pushed us, but they made me love it, you know, and I wanted to love it like they loved it. So there was that. And then I got into high school, and I played for Coach Ronnie Brown at Dardanelle High School, and you know, Coach Brown was very tactical. He was very repetitive driven, so you were going to work on something till you got it right, and then you're going to keep doing it. You know, it wasn't can you do it till you do it till you get it right. It's really, can you do it till you don't get it wrong. And so just that mentality of how to practice, and so he was very task driven. Then beyond that, you know, when I got into coaching, the mentors that I was blessed to be around, Gary Thompson from Clarksville High School, coached boys basketball. He was so good with relationships with his players and just getting every ounce out of kids. And they, you know, the thing that I was always struck with Coach T is how much his players trusted him. And, you know, that I marveled at that. And then I got to work alongside on the girls' side with Sandy Wright, who was at Harbor High School. She was at Springdale before that. You know, she's a Hall of Famer. And so to be able to spend 3 years with her, and she continues to this day. She's one of those, you know, you have a phone a friend, or mine is phone a mentor, and she's one of them. She is a sounding voice that I can just kind of go to, very good with building relationships. Brad Blue, who hired me at Farmington, another mentor of mine, and he was a guy that I was blessed for several years to have him just a few doors down so I could stop by his office. And just, you know, that's what a resource.
Absolutely.
And a guy who, that was his baby, that was his program, but for me to be able, he gives me the keys to drive that car, allows me to do things right and stumble, and let me tell you, I stumbled a bunch, but to be able to come in and close the door and just pick his brain and allow him to just talk back and forth with me, that, you know, and even to this day, yeah. And so, and then beyond that, you know, outside of all that, there's a guy named Rick Torbett. You know, he's the better basksketball guy. He's kind of the developer of the read and react offense.
Basketball,
and so he and I struck up a friendship. I used to go to clinics all the time, still do. I'm a basketball junkie, and we met at a clinic. And so he's another guy. He's a phone call away, you know. And I can just pick those brains of those people to talk about everything. Sometimes it's about basketball. Sometimes it's about leadership. But all those people poured into me, and I think that my coaching style has always been maybe just a little bit. It's a hodgepodge of all of it, you know. And I'm thankful for all of them.
Yeah. I seen an interview with Shaq the other day, and he said, "All the great things that I know, I stole."
Absolutely. I don't have a unique idea.
He said,
not one.
Karl Malone, he stole from. Patrick Ewing, he stole from.
Yeah.
Like all these great guys that dominated the position that he played, and he wanted to do it better than them. He took a little bit of that, dumped it in there, locked it away, used it.
Yeah.
And mostly used it against them.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think if you're not learning, you're not growing.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You know, that's always the key for me.
For sure. Next chapter, mindset. With another title under your belt, I mean, what's next for Coach Brad Johnson? I mean, we're obviously here at this beautiful facility, you know, What's going to keep you, going and goal driven and motivated to keep chasing greatness?
Well, for one, obviously we've changed jobs, so my role is now changed. I'm sitting in a different chair in a completely different role at a completely different level, and so there's a newness and a challenge to that. To try to be the best I can be at the role that Coach Music has given me and this university has kind of given me. So, I think there's that chase and that recharges your batteries. Not that maybe my batteries are drained, but it's just a freshness and a newness and this sense of urgency now that I get to kind of go and kind of learn and grow from. So, that's part of it. And there's avenues in this part of the game when you step up levels. There's new challenges. There's new things that I need to learn and grow from. So that's the next thing. And as far as what our hopes are is that we continue to grow this university. That we and I'm not going to change the idea of. I told you earlier, I'm very relationship driven, and so investing now in the lives of all the young women that come here to be Razorbacks, and putting a product on the floor and helping Coach Music achieve her goal, which is to put a product on the floor this entire state can be proud of. A style of basketball the state's going to love. To coach these young women that we have and mentor them, not only as basketball players but as people, and to help them grow so that they can be successful in life beyond basketball when that ball stops bouncing, and build long-lasting, meaningful relationships. And so that's the next challenge, the evolution, I guess, for me. And it's challenging, but it's unbelievably exciting. And man, we've hit the ground running, and every day is a great day.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's truly been a pleasure.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to sit down with you, pick your brain, recap the championship, and we still rooting for you like we was at Farmington. So on a bigger stage.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. Hey, and I love what you're doing for bringing spotlight to high school basketball in the state of Arkansas. You and I have talked a little bit about it. I think it's maybe the hidden gem in the nation. There's so much good. So many good kids, good coaches, good programs, so many good stories. And what you're doing is going to take it to the next level. I'm humbled that you had me on. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hopefully we can take the lid off of this thing and we can take the hidden off of the gym.
Absolutely.
Just be a gym.
Just be a gym and let everybody see it. Let the nation know what we've all known in the state of Arkansas. High-level basketball, a lot of great stuff going on right here in the state.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet. I just want to take the time to once again say so much thank yous to the Farmington community in general, our administration, our athletic team, our athletic department, my staff, Coach McCullough, Denver Holt, all the other coaches that have worked with us along the way, Coach Bo Thompson, who's our athletic director, and just so many people in that community that have made a difference in my life. And have helped lift that program to become what it is. Just so thankful for all of you. And, and also I want to continue to encourage that same support, as I know it will be, as Coach McCullough takes the reins and continues to drive that program. And she's going to take it to new heights and greatness. And I'm really, really looking forward to that piece of it and watching that community continue to thrive and that program continue to thrive and just do more and more great things. Got to give a shout out to FAB44TV Media, and obviously all the things that they bring to the table, and also got to give a shout out to 4E Media for the production of all this and just the spotlight that these guys in this program and this production crew is putting on high school sports, high school basketball in the state of Arkansas. Again, it's going to shed a light on something that we've all known, which is there's greatness right here in this state, and we're all going to get to celebrate it. Compliments of those guys. So thank all of you.